Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Reaper, and today we're going to be doing another tier list of Deep Rock Galactic overclocks. This time we're going to be talking about the Subata, or the Driller's Pistol. So the Driller Pistol, I think, is the first weapon that I got all of their overclocks for and was using that. If it wasn't this, then it might have been either the auto cannon or potentially the minigun. Our first overclock is Chain Hit, and Chain Hit makes it so when you hit a weak spot of an enemy, there's a 75% chance that your bullet will ricochet into a nearby enemy. This one, I think, was one of the first ones that I got for the weapon, and it works pretty well. You can take this on any build with the pistol. All of them benefit from this, and this one does benefit highly from accuracy. There is a chance to potentially low roll this and hit an enemy in the weak spot multiple times and not get the chain hit, but that's pretty unlikely. Having bullets bounce into enemies just makes your bullets more valuable than they normally would be, although the pistol doesn't necessarily have the highest amount of damage. The enemies also have to be relatively close to one another. The chain hit does have a decent distance on it, but there's no way that you're going to be hitting something right next to you and then have it bounce all the way across the map to another enemy. I see no reason to put chain hit into something like B tier. It's a nice bonus. Not necessarily one of the strongest bonuses, but a nice bonus nonetheless. Up next, we have Homebrew Powder. Homebrew Powder randomizes your damage. With this, it makes it so that you're doing between 80% of what your damage shown is up to 140%. Homebrew Powder is always a hit or miss for me. I really like it on the revolver, but I don't really care for it all that much on the G2. This is another weapon that I don't really care for it as much either. The pistol already hits nice breakpoints just with its base damage, and this can help against grunts and other enemies, maybe flying Bacteria, where you can sometimes high roll and kill them faster than you normally would. So it's not a terrible option for the pistol, but I don't think it's one of their better options. It's not really a favorite option for me. I don't like having the possibility of low rolling multiple times in a row, and my luck is never that great. So I think I'm going to put this one somewhere into C tier. It's a decent overclock, and I could easily see people putting it into B tier, because if you are getting lucky, if you are high rolling a good amount of the time, it can feel fairly strong. At least against like grunts and some other enemies. Against large enemies, you're likely not going to see much of a difference. And something like a Praetorian, you'll probably kill it in about the same amount of time regardless. Up next, we have our one balanced overclock, and this is Oversized Magazine. This gives us 10 additional rounds in the magazine, but we have 0.5 seconds longer to reload. So our reload is a little bit slower, but that's not necessarily a horrible thing. The reload for the pistol is already really fast. Putting another half second on it doesn't matter too much. You do notice it is a bit slower, but having those 10 extra rounds is pretty nice, and I usually take the pistol to spam it. This makes it so you can potentially go up to a total magazine size of 27, which I really enjoy. I like being able to use this as a spam fire weapon, and I think this is one of their best overclocks. It's nothing incredibly amazing compared to a lot of other weapons overclocks, and I think I'm going to put this one probably up into A tier. It's good, but again, nothing incredibly crazy or anything like that. It's just a good overall overclock. Our next option is Automatic Fire. Automatic Fire makes it so our pistol is now automatic. We also get 2 more rate of fire, so we can shoot it even faster. However, we get double the base spread of the pistol, and we get 3.5 times the recoil of the pistol. Now, the recoil is noticeable at longer ranges, but at close to medium range, it's pretty controllable. The pistol already doesn't have very much recoil, so increasing its recoil even by this much doesn't hurt it that much at those close to medium ranges, mostly just if you're going to use it at long range. The base spread is also not very noticeable either, as the pistol is already quite accurate, and doubling its base spread honestly doesn't make it that much less inaccurate. It's still decent if you want to kind of like tap fire this at somewhat of a distance. You can kind of do that. Essentially what you're doing here, though, is you're turning your pistol into a low capacity submachine gun. So you're definitely going to want to take I think it's a tier 2 or a tier 3 modification that gives you a larger magazine. You're definitely going to want to have that just so that you can spray it out. This reminds me a lot of some of the SMGs in Rainbow Six. I don't know how many people have played that who also play this. I don't know if you guys have played that, but some of the submachine guns like the MacLeod feel kind of like this. This is more controllable than that gun, but low magazine, high rate of fire, potentially high burst damage, and it works pretty well against grunts if you just want to spray at them. This one might be my favorite overclock for the Driller's Pistol, But honestly, it's nothing amazing. It doesn't make your weapon incredibly strong or anything like that. And I'd probably put automatic fire into high B tier. Next up, we got explosive reload. Explosive reload is the same as like embedded detonators, or I believe it's the electrifying reload on the G2. This makes it so every one of your shots that hits an enemy counts as an embedded detonator or an explosive. And then when you go to reload the gun, those all detonate, dealing damage to the enemy. Now, this comes at the cost of half of your maximum ammo, so you get half as much ammo, which is kind of a big deal. And we get pretty much half the magazine size. So we get less ammo overall. This does make our gun more specialized, and honestly, this isn't a bad choice as an overclock because it still is a fairly long-range weapon. It's quite good at killing special units like any of the flying Bacteria you can kill pretty quickly. You can use this against larger targets at longer ranges like the menaces or spitballers or the plants or anything like that that want to stay at a distance and be shooting you. You can use this to deal high amounts of damage to them. You can use it to deal high amounts of damage to Praetorians and Oppressors as well. You can kind of make up for the downside of this by just going with all of the extra ammo that you can. That way you're getting closer to your base amount of ammo, and then once again, just using this as a highly specialized weapon, shooting grunts a couple times to get them to explode, shooting Praetorians to potentially get them to explode. That pairs well with either of your primary weapons, since you can light something on fire or freeze it and then deal more damage that way. This one's overall a pretty good overclock, and again, probably one of the pistol's best. I don't think I would put it into S tier though. I think I'd probably just put it into A tier. I'd say it's on par with the Oversized Magazine for different reasons though. One just makes your weapon a better general purpose weapon. The other one makes it a better specialized weapon. And then our last overclock for our pistol is tranquilizer rounds. This makes it so every bullet has a 50% chance to stun an enemy, but we lose out on 4 magazine size and 2 rate of fire. So we shoot slower and we get a smaller magazine. Once again, I find that it helps if we go with the larger magazine for this one. This one, again, does turn your weapon into more of a specialized weapon, where it's a status affecting weapon. Stunning is always going to be useful, because you can stun things like oppressors or Praetorians. It's not really a bad option, but again, I don't think it's one of the greatest overclocks in this game. The stun doesn't last that long. The lower magazine and lower rate of fire is noticeable. The magazine can be made up for. The rate of fire can also be made up for, but I usually just don't bother with it and just keep it at the slower rate of fire, using it more as a accurate pistol then, trying to stun enemies. And it kind of works for that. Again, overall kind of helpful, but not one of the greatest overclocks, and I would probably also put this one into B tier. Maybe I'll put it below chain hit, where chain hit's always going to be a bonus. This one's kind of both bonus and not really. So this is where I'd put all of the overclocks for the Subata pistol that Driller has. None of them are incredibly amazing, but none of them are incredibly bad either. They're all decent, and they all change up the pistol somewhat. They do make them kind of unique, especially with weapons especially with overclocks like automatic fire that turns it into a low capacity submachine gun, explosive rounds that makes it into a specialized weapon, or tranquilizer rounds that makes it into a specialized weapon. There is some cool stuff here with the pistol, but again, nothing that really makes it like super overpowered or anything like that. It's not. It's still a decent weapon. It's a very good secondary for Driller, and the overclocks kind of reflect that, where they just sort of help with it and are kind of nice quality of life upgrades. So I think this is where I'd put all of them. Tell me what your thoughts are down in the comments below of these overclocks. Tell me which is your favorite. I'm really curious to find out about that. Thank you guys so very much for watching this. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys did and you're not subscribed, be sure that you get subscribed. That way you get notifications whenever I post any of these videos. Thanks everybody who supports the channel in other ways, either by going to the Patreon, over to my YouTube membership program, or over to the merch store. All of that really helps. Thank you for all the supporters here. I really do appreciate it, and I will talk to all of you guys next time. Till then, stay cool, and bye.